Right. I'm in there. Yeah, you take it away. Yeah. Fine. Yeah, well, you got an actor behind you, so he probably wants a piece of the action as well. So. Yeah, it's a fair one.
You're making this harder for us every week because there's no story, there's no narrative.
No story apart from the positive story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Can you put some perspective into it, some context? Are they impressing you game on game on game?
I think the last couple of games have been more impressive the mentality, which I've always known is there, because I think out of the 5 wins, the 3 games previous, apart from the first half, West Ham, I thought we were very good. I thought, and I spoke about that after the game. But the last couple of games we haven't been as good, but we've done what you need to do to win a game, and I've been very impressed with that because we've always made it clear, or I've certainly made it clear that. For teams like ourselves in the Premier League, you've just got to find a way of getting points on the board. And sometimes it's really nice and everyone enjoys it and you can watch it and it's good to watch and you can win and everyone's happy. Sometimes you just have to find a way. Sometimes you have to dig in, you have to defend. And I think we've done that at Watford. And I think we did it against Leicester. Only second half. I thought first half we were pretty decent. But second half I thought Leicester were very good. And we had to find a different way of making sure that we got the result. So I've been impressed with the mentality, impressed with the way the players are going about it, the open-mindedness to what comes next. Because obviously after getting to 40, then it was, could we get beyond last season? We did that, but then it's been, okay, well, let's keep going. And I've been really pleased with that.
I know you're getting the points, but on the pitch, are they working things out for themselves better than they sort of have?
Well, I do think that's the ongoing... The higher level you work at in anything in life, I think you do adapt. And if you don't adapt, guess what? It finds you out and you're out. But if you continue to adapt, like virtually all the players here continue to do, then you learn more about it, you get more experienced. And I think there's been that this season. I've mentioned it all season, just, an assured edge, I call it. Just when there's less, it's hard to really put words on it, but kind of that look about aside, where no matter where we've gone, home and away in the Premier League, we just look a bit more assured with it all. It looks a bit more familiar, the whole feel of a Premier League. It was last season, we got back up there and it's hard. Everyone's thinking every game's enormous. Every point is like life or death to stay in the Premier League. We did that last season, and I think we've moved on again this season, where a lot of the players, as I suggest, they just look a bit more assured, a bit more, okay, this is my life at the moment in the Premier League. They know there's work to be done in every game, but you understand there's just a bit more of that feeling about the group that we can take on a game. And if we have a tough run like we did after Christmas, there was never any panic involved. There was never any overthinking it. The players knew, I thought they knew, and I certainly knew they were playing pretty well, actually. There were some tight margins. There was a few decisions, as I've mentioned. But generally, the performance levels were consistently decent. And if you do that over a season, it will at some point pay you back. Or certainly that's what I believe.
And when you're looking for freshness amongst your players, you get that on the back of 5 wins. This time of the season people are tired, but you're not seeing that from the stats because everyone wants to play.
Well, I think it's certainly helpful. The winning feeling is what we all crave. And it does give you that bit more, that feeling, that extra skipping your step, the old-fashioned things. It does. It gives you that little lift, and then everything feels a bit better. Everyone feels a bit better about themselves. The crowd are buzzing, the team are buzzing, and it does instill that extra bit of confidence and the freedom to go and play, as I talk about a lot. When you're winning, it does allow you more of a free edge to your game, where you can almost have that nice clear focus that I'm ready to play, I want to take on the game and go and deliver a performance. And sometimes it can get bogged down a bit if you're not playing so well or results are against you. When they're for you, you've got to enjoy that feeling, because it's hard to come by in the Premier League, and we've done that successfully on a number of occasions this season.
Is the mindset then why not the top 6? You're 2 points away. Why
No, the mindset. The next game's the most important. We've stuck by it for a long time here. It's very difficult, I said after last week's game that to win back to back in the Premier League is very difficult. But then when you get 3, 4, and then you add in 5, then all of a sudden that's an amazing run for clubs outside of the top 6. You don't even see it that often with all of the top 6, but it's rare you see it outside of the top 6, 7 clubs. So we're very, very pleased with the players on how they performed during this period.
In terms of Chelsea, that first win kind of set the tone for the season. Was that the most strange team talk you've ever given at half time? Bearing in mind
it was definitely one that I hadn't planned on, I can assure you. We had a little meeting with the staff, and they said, what do you think? And I said, I don't know. So what do you want to tell them? 3-0 up and Chelsea. Then we just waffled on and kept our fingers crossed, and we managed to get that one over the line. The big thing for that, looking back, on that game was it's not just a great result against the top side. You've got to remember there was a story the season before about one win in a season. Well, that's gone immediately. You know, the fact that you've won a game so early. And you win, by the way, because everyone, you know, apart from the real superpowers, everyone waits for the first win, you know, and it makes a story if you don't get that first win in a number of games. Well, that's gone immediately. So your away win and a win have cleared up immediately. So, you know, it changes the immediate feel of a season. It doesn't guarantee anything, but it just changes the immediate feel. You know, everyone goes, okay, one away, and we've got a win on under our belts, got points on the table. And everyone just goes, okay, well, great start, let's just move on from there. And we've not really looked back. Like I say, even with a tough period of that 11 games, our performance levels were still pretty decent. A couple of blips in there, but pretty decent, I felt.
Even at that moment, were you thinking this might not be survival, or did that come later? I mean, because you really didn't Spurs.
No, it's not really about survival. You know, your story is survival, and it has to be, of course. It makes a story, but we were really thinking about, you know, can we build on last season? It's not... everyone talks about 40 points, but there's a different way of viewing it. 40 points, generally speaking, is survival, to put it bluntly. But we were really looking as could we move on from last season? You know, could we literally, obviously, on the table, but could we move on with our performance levels and how we're developing as a side and a club? And I think we have. So it's a win-win. You know, for me, the development thing's very important, but equally, I know that I'm measured, or my job's measured on a league table, and we've gone beyond that as well. So it's a win-win for us.
Well, I'll ask a couple of other issues. I think Everton have got a poll seeing how the manager's doing. I guess at this stage you'd welcome a poll of Burnley fans.
Well, different strokes for different folks. You know, everyone has a different way of doing their business. We just concentrate on what we do here, you know. But I think it's fair to say that there's a lot of happy people around Burnley at the moment, and a lot of well wishers outside of it. I think, you know, it's currently a good story about football. You know, we all know the glory of the superpower clubs and some amazing football that we see in the Premier League and have done this season. I think everyone's still got just that little feeling. They like to see a bit of an underdog. They like to see a different story. And we're turning into one of them this season. And long may that continue, of course.
Just on a winter break they're talking about for 2020. Is that something, as a manager, you welcome? Would it help?
I welcome it here. I don't know whether anyone noticed. The sun came out today and it's, you know, we can't believe it. It's like 15 degrees. And like I think it was last week on Friday, it was like 4 degrees or 5 degrees. So winter break might be interesting up here. But no, I mean, I'm not. You know, I think it comes in probably because eventually it was going to. And as I've always said it, you know, the teams that have European competition, joking apart with ourselves challenging for that, but you know, they have a lot of games, and if you have a cup run, etc., it probably is a good idea as long as it's fitted in, which I believe they're finding a way that it can fit in without disrupting too much of the rest of the league. And that little break, probably a good idea. But equally, I think the timing, I think it's going to be slightly after. So therefore, you still get the Christmas period. So people will still get their, you know, the Boxing Day games, New Year's games, etc., because I think that's part of the history of this country's football, and I think that's an important thing to recognise as well.
Sean, Jack sat there before and said that there's an excitement around the training ground.
He's an excitable character as
he
well. I bet he was bubbling, Jack, knowing him how I do. Was he? Incredible. Good from him. Good from him. Well, if 10 being really excitable, was it about 2? Because that's normally his excitement level, Corky's.
Highest 1 or 10?
Well, 10 being the highest, because in my experience, he's quite calm, Corky.
Yeah, maybe a 6.
Oh, okay, all right, I'll commend him. I'll see him tomorrow morning. I was able to do the heat in here, yeah. He'd had a bit of sun on his back today, yeah. He's top man, Corky. He's top man. Oh, okay. All right, I'll learn after. When the cameras go off, you can tell me.
He sat there and said there's a real excitement around the place. Nick Pope, we interviewed earlier as well, who was sort of saying that after the Leicester win, this sense of a European spot getting closer was giving that excitement as well. Have you sort of sensed that around the place?
I don't think so much in the camp, because we know, you know, we're not obsessed with the league tail, but we're obviously aware of it. You know, we know that the game against Leicester was important for that reason. We knew that the gap could be created. But we're not obsessed with that. You know, we're more obsessive about performance levels. You know, I go on about it all the time because I believe in it. But I think they get more of the excitement through the outside world, you know, the media streams, from what they're picking up on. You know, a lot of the players now are involved in the social media, as you can imagine. You know, that kind of feeling. You know, I tend to look at it as keep myself focused, let alone them. But we are well aware of the position we are, and I think it is to be enjoyed for all involved with Burnley, whilst continuing to look to win games, of course.
You said before about being sort of surprised about the type of half-time team talk you had to give against Chelsea at the start of the season. Given the growth in your team throughout this year, would you be as surprised to give a similar team talk tomorrow?
Oh yeah, look, they've had a few challenges this season, but you only have to look at the Southampton game to remind yourself that, you know, it's a funny thing against the real tops, against any side in the Premier League, but particularly the top sides. They can look quiet, and sometimes, you know, you think, oh, are they really on song? And then they just literally, over a matter of minutes, pick it up, and all of a sudden they look like a different side. We've seen it right in front of our eyes. I've seen it through live games, through TV screens, many, many times. When, you know, one team, a slightly lesser team like ourselves, you know, on paper, are looking at the other team, and you're looking at that game, and you think there's nothing in this, and then boop, 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 and it's done. That's the power of the real top teams, I think. And Chelsea still have that. So make no mistake, we're moving forward. We're not there. We're not them sides. You know, we still have got to work for every inch. I'm not saying they don't, but they have players who can just turn it on for a little window in a game, and it can make a whole big difference to the outcome. So, you know, we're certainly moving forward. I don't think we're at the level of the top six, what they are week in, week out, but we are improving. But you can't suggest that you're going to think, oh yeah, it's normal for us to be 3-0 up against any of the top six, because that's very, very difficult to do.
When you look at the situation that Chelsea have been in, and you see that performance and the turnaround against Southampton, is that maybe the perfect reminder to any of the players that even if they're ahead at Turf Moor, they need to be wary of the quality they've still got?
I think, you know, all credit to our players, because I think they've learned that in the Premier League. I certainly don't think, you know, I've never smelt on them that they take anything for granted. You know, I don't think they do. And during a game, by the way, as well as after a game or before a game, I think they know that you have to see a game through for 96, 97 minutes sometimes. You know, you've got to stay focused, because it can change very quickly. And I've been very pleased over a number of years now how my players keep going no matter what's happening in the game. They just keep playing all the way, right the way down to the last whistle. And I've been very pleased with that. And they know that. You know, you can't take for granted against anyone in this league, but particularly the big teams. We saw it with Liverpool this year. We gave a really, really good performance, and they nicked something in the dying seconds. You know, Arsenal's well documented, but you know, them sort of teams, you know, they're very difficult. They're very difficult. So I don't think our players look any other than performing for the full duration of a game in order to see what we get.
Obviously, earlier on in the season, you were really high up the table, I think fourth at one point. To go sixth, though, now at this stage, obviously different games played and things like that, but how much of a reflection would that be on just how well this season's gone so far?
Well, it's the obvious reflection. You know, to be seventh in the position we're in is fantastic. If you can chase down Arsenal, I don't think that would have been words that I'd have been using at the beginning of the season to where we are now. No, it's true. You know, you've got to be realistic, and we are reality bound here. We know every season in the Premier League is a big challenge for us. We're making a real strong show of it this season for ourselves. But, you know, there's some fine clubs out there, you know, so we're not really... if we can attempt to chase down these teams, we will do. But we're not really obsessed with that. We like the way we're going. We like the way we're performing. We've got two important games in a number of days coming up. You know, the first one's the first one, which is Chelsea. And then we'll replan, we'll reorganise and get on with Stoke, take on the coming games after that, and we'll see where it takes us.
Thank you, Sean.
Pleasure. There's no reaction. I know you keep searching for that story. There's no reaction needed. I don't know if you saw the last game. Popey, he's doing nicely. Tom's very respectful of that. He totally understands it, because there's been a time, don't forget, when he's the fella in the goal.
And has Nick kind of made himself undroppable?
No, Nick just keeps performing and keeps trying to stop the ball going in the net, which is what I really like about our keepers to try and do.
I'm going to keep with it.
You help yourself. Be a long interview. No, I said before, it's really, really simple when they're playing so well. It's a rule of football, more or less. The reason I say more or less is because certain circumstances, we don't do it so often, but, you know, I do see managers, and for certain reasons, they have to change teams, put players in, leave players out, etc., etc. This idea, I don't think rotation is the word that's properly used about many clubs, if I'm honest, because I think they just make good informed decisions. I don't think they do it for the sake of it. I think they make sure they're using the players wisely. We historically haven't needed to do that. We can play the players that we think are playing well and the players that are deserving to play for many different reasons. simple with goalkeepers. Pope is having a very strong season. He's delivering very, very good performances. So I've got no reason at the moment to consider changing him. Tom is a fantastic keeper, let me make that clear, and done many good things, and his time will come again whenever that day comes. But the fact is, he knows Pope has got the shirt at the moment, like all keepers. I've mentioned this over the last few weeks. They all know the rules of being a keeper. Usually, when you're in command of that shirt and you're playing well, then you keep it.
Obviously, Tom would have had England World Cup ambitions, so which I guess now, if he's not in the team, he's not going to get in the squad.
Well, that's for Gareth to decide on what he thinks about the goalkeeping situation. I think there's not just the goalkeepers. I think there's a number of situations Gareth will have big decisions to make.
But I mean, I guess Tom, it would be disappointing for him, wouldn't it? Given
I don't know. You'd have to ask him. You can keep going. You can help yourself.
okay.
But that straight back just keeps going. Pop. But you can ask him. I'll get Tom over and you can have a chat with him.
I'll try team news then.
Okay.
How are you doing?
No, pretty good. Pretty good. The Ben Mee won't make it. Scotty Arfield won't make it. Both Ben's settling down and Scotty Arfield is making good sort of progress now. And they've got Ben's maybe for Sunday, but I doubt it. But we'll wait and see. Scotty won't be for Sunday. I'm trying to think of the others. No, that's it. John's back fit and around the group again. John Walters. I think that's about it. So we're okay. And Rob, the longer term, when Stephen Defoe's making good progress, Robbie Brady's making good progress.
But Ben, I mean, you're very hopeful he'll be back before the end.
Oh, we'll have to wait and see. It's a stress reaction in his sort of lower shin towards his ankle. That can be one of them. It's kind of just the loading, really, and that can settle down very quickly sometimes, which it seems to be doing at the moment, but it can equally flare up very quickly. It's nothing too drastic at this stage, but it has to be kept an eye on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Done.
Please.